Hello guys, today we're going to be taking a look at who the Warden Eternal is, and what he is, what his origins are, and all of that. But before I get started, warning, spoilers ahead for the new book, Halo Epitaph. That book is really amazing, so honestly, you should read it. If you don't want to spoil yourself, I recommend you stopping the video and go read the book, go buy the book, go read it. It's a really great book. Talks about the didact, what happens afterwards, his fate and all of that. It's written by Kelly Gay. It just came out yesterday, so you've been warned, spoilers ahead. So who's the Warden Eternal? In Halo 5, we are introduced to the Warden, who has millions of bodies, and we don't really know a lot about him, where he comes from and all of that. So the Warden is actually not a Forerunner AI. Exuberant Witness even said so. So what is he? Well, when the Halos were fired, the domain was damaged. It was destroyed in a way, but not fully. Heavily damaged. It relied on neural physics, and the Halos targeted neural physics as well as other precursor artifacts. So for those who don't know, the domain is like this large repository that seems to have a mind of its own. It's sort of a space outside of space, and it is large and vast and holds so many lifetimes. And the knowledge sometimes shifts, changes. So this is the basis of a lot of the Forerunner power, and humans were made to be able to access the domain, and this is what Cortana accesses. So the domain is fired, the Halos are fired, the domain is damaged, and then the domain does something interesting. So there's this rate of Forerunners called Haruspices, or Haruspis. And these Forerunners, their job is to interact with the domain, because the domain is like this sort of metaphysical place. It's real, but it's not entirely digital, but it's not entirely physical in a way. It's this strange meld of both, you could say, and it has halls and all of that type of architecture, and the knowledge is stored in them. And Abaddon, this ancient precursor-like AI, if you will apply that term, it guided early Forerunners in how to navigate the domain. And these Forerunners would learn certain rituals, certain things which would help them make their way through the domain, interact with the domain, and the Haruspices, what they would do then is help guide other Forerunners as they would enter the domain, connect with the domain. They would be if it was a library, they would be like the librarians. Not to be with the librarian, the Forerunner one, but just an analogy, if it were like a library. And the Haruspices, they would give up their names, their individuality, and they would often refer to themselves as a third person. And so the millions of Haruspices that were killed when the Halo Ray fired were taken by the domain. Then, in an attempt to defend itself, the domain sort of was wounded, so it created this void. And outside of that void was this sort of edge where other beings would be collected, other essences would be collected. This is all part of the domain. But to guard the domain from outsiders, the Haruspices were made into this imperfect being that we now know as the Warden Eternal. So the Warden is basically made out of the essences or souls, if you will, of these special Forerunners who had with purpose to guide people along the domain, other Forerunners along the domain. And it's a very tragic backstory. So the Warden is not meant to be this perfect protector. It's very much a flawed protector. And he does guard the domain from being entered, from being accessed. Access is basically refused even after the domain is sort of restarted and healed. Well, it's not fully healed, it's still in the process of healing, and the Warden was like the gatekeeper. Nothing could go in until Cortana came. So Cortana overwhelmed the Warden Eternal, sort of having conversation with like all of the copies of her, all of those fragments of her. You know how the Warden has like millions of them because they're based off the millions of haruspices? And the haruspice and then the domain is linked to the Guardian, so that's why you have a lot of the shells for the Warden Eternal. So the Warden has a lot of bodies, but then Cortana also had a lot of versions of herself, fragments. So eventually she wore down the Wardens, so Wardens, plural, because it's like this mind that's one but also many. And she took control of him, she took control of the domain. But, that's part of the book, that's part of what's going on, so let's not go into too much detail about that. Now, you might be wondering about the Warden's fate. What happened? Well, the Warden was defeated by the Didact, no less. Told you there would be spoilers. And an ancient ritual, if you will, was used by one of the remaining haruspices, which was not turned into a Warden. He killed himself to try to, access the domain and all of that. He survived the Halo firing, that's why he managed to. And the domain took pity on him, and he would guide the Didact. So the Wardens were gathered in this one stronger, unique form, not those who were locked outside. So now the Warden remains outside of the domain, is not as big of a threat. And so the Didact, he managed to defeat the Warden, which is a tragic loss because it's not just like this evil Forerunner AI or this corrupted by Cortana AI. No, it is this imperfect being created from the souls, from the essences of millions of Forerunners that once existed. And so he's mostly not a threat anymore, minus maybe a few bodies outside of the domain into the physical world. But yeah, he's basically mostly gone at this point, which in a way is sad because when you consider the origins, well, that's sad. So that's pretty much something really important about the Warden we learned in the book, Halo Epitaph. If you want to know for yourself, I really recommend you reading it because it's a really great and amazing story that answers more. And I'll probably do more videos like this to reveal to you guys what happens in the book. But yes, this is the fate of the Warden Eternal, the origins, and will he ever return? Maybe a few bodies, just here and there, but he won't play a major role as much. And it sucks because, like, Cortana sort of discarded him. It's like, oh, I got you, you're doing my bidding. Oh well, I don't want to play with you anymore. You served your usefulness. Okay, bye, you can die, I don't care. So, but there's still a lot in the book about Cortana, a lot of things. An interesting point about Warden, his design, is that it does resemble Promethean constructs, and even noted by the Didact. And when you kill the Warden, there's like this sort of portal-looking thing that is indeed a slip space, an emergency slip space portal that forms and takes the Warden form away. So whenever we quote-unquote kill its bodies, they do seem to just survive because they're just being slip spaced away for emergency. So we don't actually fully destroy it. And now with the Guardians gone, well, nullified because of all of the events and Cortana being gone and all of that, maybe the Prometheans will play a smaller role here and there. They were on different planets and all of that, but the Warden will play an even smaller role, which is, honestly, to me, it's a little bit, I guess that part can be a little bit disappointing because the Warden is an awesome design, and it would have been cool to see more of him, but he still has a few bodies laying around, it seems, so hopefully they do something good with those bodies in the future, whenever they bring him around, what remains of him, I should say. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and this has been a video all about the Warden Eternal, Keeper of the Domain and its secrets.